Hello, everybody. My name is Diggy Games 233. I am not Diggy Dog no more. I am Diggy Games 233. And over my last week or so on this new channel, I've been talking about the tariff situation, the Nintendo Switch 2 price. But ladies and gentlemen, due to the incompetence of our president, because he wished to devalue the American dollar by doing these tariffs so he can make more so he can have people buy our stuff at a cheaper rate. Supposedly by doing that, he's going to make sure that infrastructures are going to get built. He put a pause on the tariffs for just about every country except China, who has 120+% charge on their tariffs now. China retaliated with an 80% tariffs on the United States of America. But gamers, how did this... Sorry, give me a second. Yes, gamers, your Nintendo Switch 2 may be available for pre-order. And if you buy it now, you may be able to get it at its original price of $450. Because we don't know if Nintendo will actually eat the cost of the console, because the tariffs, I believe, are still going to affect the price of this console. Maybe not to the extent that it might have originally been, but even a small percent of a tariff will still raise the price up to at least $500. We'll have to see. But ladies and gentlemen, does this change your mind? Will Nintendo actually listen to the cries, the praise of the audience, and lower down the price and just eat it? Because if you really think about it, Nintendo should just eat this price. You're already selling the games at $80, so you might as well make your money through the games at this point, right? And just sell the console at a loss, just for Americans, I guess, because, you know, I know technically you'll get more money if you sell it at the original price, or like you raise the price up a bit. But think about it, just sell it at a loss and just sell your games at a higher price. I honestly think a lot of people will just probably accept that. Because as we like it or not, $80 for video games are going to become the norm in our society, and it will be hard for us to fix it. So you might as well just sell your console at a loss and make the money through the games. That's why I said it 3 times over. So let's read this article real quick, written by Ethan Gatch. Not Gatch. The Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders were originally supposed to go live today, but were halted by Nintendo in the US and in Canada after President Trump's latest round of tariffs threatened to torpedo its original $450 price. The White House is now suddenly backing off the most extreme import taxes less than a day after they went into effect. Is the Switch 2 in the clear, or would this latest act of Perkinship just lead to more questions and uncertainty? Honestly, probably a little bit of both, because Nintendo has been very radio silent over this whole thing. We really haven't been hearing much outside of pre-orders are delayed indefinitely from Canada and the United States of America. So I think Nintendo needs to open up its mouth and say something to the gamers so we can actually be certain about the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 for people who are inclined to buy it. I think Nintendo's doing a poor job with this whole thing, because they had a good presentation, but they just got fucked over by Donald Trump and the tariffs. So they haven't been able to respond properly for the American audience. So it's been a confusion for us. And that's why you can see why a lot of Americans are very mad about this. This is from one of the people from Trump. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world market, I am hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125%, effective immediately. Trump posted on social media on Wednesday, just 13 hours after the latest round of the April 9th precursor tariffs had gone into effect. At some point, hoping At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize, oh, is it still Trump? At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize the days of ripping off United States of America and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. And Donald Trump. Anyway, it's hard to take anything the White House says about the ongoing trade wars seriously at this point. But in short term, this means places like Vietnam, Cambodia, where Nintendo moved much of its Switch 2 manufacturing in recent years, will only be subject to an additional 10% tariff as opposed to the rates as much as 46% that was previously announced. That's good news for you Nintendo fans. 10% tariffs will be a little more cheaper than with a 46% tariff. You know, big number big, small number small. You get me? Nintendo pauses on the 90-day pauses on other tariffs takes us past the June 5th launch of the Switch and presumably gives Nintendo and other manufacturers a brief reprieve during which more inventory can be shipped into the United States. Some analysts feel that certain levels of tariff taxation was already baked into the 450 price, suggesting it might not increase if the pause continues. So if we're taking these words into account, the 450 was already baked into the taxation of this Nintendo Switch price. That's why they had it up at 450. Still entirely too much fucking for a console, but it makes sense that way. And if the pause continues, since 90 days would lead us into June 5th, as said in this article, that means that hopefully for people who can afford it, this will probably be your best time. If they ever put it on freaking what's the word, pre-sale, if they start pre-selling it, now is the greatest time to buy it, because if you're going to do it right now, you're going to do it while this 90 days is happening. However, Donald Trump can flip the script on anything in about a day. He is incompetent at running this country. He has like random mood swings. He's bipolar the way he runs his office. He's like, I'm gonna have the tariffs. Then like he saw like everybody was hating. I'm not gonna have the tariffs because he wanted to give money to his billionaire fans and friends and whatnot. That's why he did these tariffs, to make sure all his buddies got rich before he fucked over the rest of the lower class citizens. But that's Donald Trump. Anyway, Nintendo said that wasn't the case. However, as recent history shows, the administration trade policy could shift on a dime. So yeah, Mario Party matches are less chaotic than the current United States of America. So gamers, tell me what you think. I think at this point right now, Nintendo should sell it at 450. Hell, sell it a little cheaper, eat it at a loss, and just make it back on the games at this point. That's my opinion. But I am Diggy Games 233, and I'm out.